seller about refinancing.
Buyer.
I'm sorry.
With the buyer.
You're right, thank you. I was working with my buyer. They've been in there several years, trying to get them to refinance and pay me off so I can pay off my balloon payment that I owed my seller. And they had some credit challenges and they weren't ready. And we had a meeting and we talked about different options, one of which is selling the house. Good market, so they had a lot of equity in the house if they sold it. Well, they decided to do that. Well, then we're moving towards closing, and I couldn't get an underlying payoff from my seller that I bought it from. She wasn't responding, and she'd always responded. You know, we talked quite a bit, but I hadn't heard from her in like 6 to 9 months. And my seller, my buyers, they're getting worried about closing because I didn't have this payoff. And all of a sudden, we went from having a really good relationship to you're trying to purposely keep my money and prevent me from going into default, you know, backstabbing, name calling, all kinds of stuff, telling me that I'm not trying to get a hold of this seller like I'm supposed to get this payoff. And I tried to explain to them, what good does that do me? I mean, that serves no purpose. Well, it turns out she had a stroke and was in a hospital in Washington, D.C. All the contact information I have between Fort Worth and Tennessee, Memphis, where she had bounced back and forth living over the last several years, none of that worked. And the people that I did have numbers for gave me the same numbers I already had, didn't work. So, I mean, I'm running out of options. We went to social media. We tried everything on social media, no response.
Facebook friends, IMing.
All that stuff. Well, it turns out my buyers, the one that's trying to sell the house, they somehow got a Facebook connection. And it turns out the title company had to take their attorney and go to the hospital to confirm identity. And they had an attorney that was our attorney on behalf of my seller. So you never know what kind of things are going to happen. But I guess the moral of the story there is, you know, documentation, communications, you know, keep in touch with people. The other one was Curzon. My buyer, my owner finance buyer passed away.
Which was messy.
In addition to that, the seller that I bought it subject to with about a year earlier had a major stroke. To make it messier yet, his new wife was never put on the loan. So, I mean, it just, you know, but fortunately, we had all the authorizations that we needed up front at closing when I bought the house, so I could act on his behalf, even though he had a major stroke, and he did eventually pass away as well. But, you know, this documentation and communications and keeping current with people, you know, and not just say, thank you very much for your business and never talk to them again. That's not what you want to do. When you do sub-2 deals and owner finance wrap deals and stuff, you have a long-term relationship, and you need to keep the communications going, even if you're just doing it to make sure you're connected in some way. Christmas cards, emails, you know, regular mail.
Friend on Facebook.
Facebook.
That's yeah. Be your friend on Facebook, so you know they're friends. So if you can't reach them, you can see who's listed as their family in Miami to find out where they're at.
We've had a lot of scenarios happen over the years. You know, we've had people file bankruptcy on us. Part of them.
Yeah.
We've had people file bankruptcy on us. You know, we have to go through those hoops. Yeah, it's just, but it all works out in the end.
It does. It's just important to make sure that you have information you can reach those people so you don't have a problem. Because the one we have going right now is not doing this part to get every information, it's with the underlying. So, and that's a risk that this buyer is going to lose their house. And the lender doesn't know who the mortgage was sold to. But actually, actually, a fun note on that one he was talking about where they kind of got ugly at the end. We called them to find out where they had moved to so we could forward their escrow check, which was a little over $4,000. And he answered the phone and said, I already sold the house, blank you, and hung up on me. So I thought, well, I guess I'll just mail it to the old address and hopefully he'll get it because I'm not going to call back and be cursed at again. So we mailed it, eventually got forwarded to him. And he called back after Christmas because now that check was stale dated 60 days because ours, you have to cash them in 60 days or we have to reissue them. And he had just gotten it. So he was very nice when he called back and gave us a forwarding address.
I had to laugh.
I did call Tim to let him
She
know.
had to call me and tell me that too.
Yeah, he wanted his check reissued. And he's like, I'll drive over and wait on it. No, you're not going to drive over and wait on it. You can bring it in. We have to make sure that you didn't try and cash it because sometimes people will take pictures of checks and try and put them in and we have to wait so many days and we'll reissue it. I have to upload it to the bank to say, yes, pay this. And I have to put a stop pay on that one and make sure it's going to stop just in case to make sure it goes through. Another issue we've run into is we have people come in to make their mortgage payments. And now we have a sign that you can't have your cell phone out. We had a buyer making their payment and another buyer come up behind and try and take a picture of their money order. So you're not always dealing with people who are doing the right thing. By taking a picture, you can remotely deposit them, and I don't know how he was going to sign them back, but he apparently thought he could. So my key part of this at the bottom is don't be scared. There's money to be made. You just need to make sure you get it set up right and you have all the information. And if you do it right in the beginning, it usually just moves on. But you want to make sure you have all that information. Oh, creating the best note possible. I think everyone has harped on the fact that you need to get a down payment. Best loans that perform have down payments. You want to have the low loan to value so that you're hitting a sweet spot. So if you end up selling that note, that you're going to get the most amount of money you can for it. A high interest rate. Selling your note at 4% to someone is not as desirable, and they're going to discount your rate until they get to the rate of return that they want. Currently, we're seeing notes coming in at 10%. It's pretty average right now. They used to be coming in at 8 to 9.5. They've just been creeping up slowly, which is okay. It also motivates people to refinance if they, that's your goal. They're going to be more motivated to refinance if they can qualify for later for a 3 or 4% interest rate versus a 10.
Sometimes it motivates, not always.
Not always. This is true. And a realistic PITI. You want to tell them what their payment should be, and you want to make it a realistic one that people are going to be able to make, and it is currently within the market value. You want to be in that sweet spot. So, key point. We had an investor who wanted to sell his note because the value of the property had gone up. It doesn't matter what the value of the property is, it matters what your note is. If your note's at 160 and they paid it down to 158 and that market's just shot out, it's like Forest Hills in Dallas and now it's worth 280, you don't have a $280,000 note. You have what the balance of that principal balance of the note is. Do you ever have that, Robin? People that, okay. I'm just curious. Am I the only person that runs it? So, I just wrote down the first and second. You can do them at different interest rates. If you hit the higher amount, it becomes a high-cost mortgage. You have to have different disclosures to your buyers. They have to have a different set of paperwork going through it.
So there's no way you can get the ARV off of that particular note? Whatever you fix the house up to be.
When you go to sell it initially, but I'm talking if you were 2 or 3 years down the road and that area just went up in cost or value, you can't sell it for what the new value of the property is. You can only sell it for what the balance of your note is, or they're going to discount it. But you're not starting off at a property. If the property value had shot up in that area, you don't get to sell your note for more because you have the balance of what the note is. It's not going to magically increase the value of the note because the property or the property is worth more. You can only sell it for what it's owed to you and discount it down from there. Does that make sense? Is anyone glazed over and need to me to back up at all? what buyers look for, high interest rate. They're wanting to see a higher interest rate because it's a higher rate of return, whether they're brokering or keeping it. The loan to value, they don't want to see you loaned it at 105 because they're going to start discounting it down until they hit where they need to be to make sure that it's worth it. They want to pay for it, and that if there's a default that they have the ability to go in, fix it, flip it, and sell it back. That's an important part. Did anyone catch that when I said it? They want to have it at lower. So if you sell it at 105% and took a down payment, you're not going to sell that note at 100 at that amount. So if you oversold the note, for example, if it's the property is worth 100,000 and your note's at 105, if that buyer defaults and you've sold it and you have to take back the property, foreclose on the property, rehab the property, market the property, close on the property, they're going to mark your note down so that there's that profit in there and they're not going to lose money on it. That make sense?
Yes.
Ron, if you said yes, I know that you know.
Who is they?
A note buyer. If you're going to sell the note to someone to pay off your underlying debt and whatnot, which is why I like to set mine up with firsts and seconds. And I want to sell it what the value of it is. I don't want to oversell it because if something happens to my buyer and they need to sell it, I want them actually to be able to get out of that house if they want to sell it. And if they don't want to sell it back to me, or if I don't want to do a deed in lieu. A deed in lieu is a whole lot easier than a foreclosure. If you're willing to work with them, my rule is you have to leave it clean and I'm going to walk through and look, and I'll give you some money to move on so you can get a down payment, or what's that called when you rent? It's not down payment.
Cash for keys.
Well, cash for keys, but I was trying to think what it's not a down payment when you rent an apartment. It's like first and last month's rent. You have deposit. Yes, thank you. I want to be able to have a deposit and leave my house clean because I really don't like cleaning up other people's stuff. I have 3 teenage boys. I have to clean up enough. I want a good down payment and seasoning. Some note buyers will buy it at a greater discount with 2 or 3 months payments. Some will buy it at the table, but they're going to discount it. But if you have a note that has seasoning on it, seasoning means payments made on time, not payments made, buyer defaulted, you modified the note, now they paid a couple months on time. That's not called seasoning. That's called you have a problem, you just want to get out of it before they start defaulting again, in my opinion. Other people might see it differently. Clean legal docs. Make sure that your property descriptions are right, the loan's amortized correctly on the note. There's an escrow account. Note buyers like to see an escrow account on there. It's important to have an escrow. RMLA package, a copy of the insurance, payment history, property tax statement showing they're paid. The bite side of that is if you sell your note and there's an underlying mortgage, it gets paid off at closing. It's amazing how these people who were desperate sellers, then you took it over, you're making their payments for 2 or 3 years, their credit score starts going up because their payments have been made on time, and they forget that their credit score went up because you wrapped their mortgage and made sure those payments are being made on time, and with their newfound credit, now they want to go buy another house, but this shows up on their credit. So sometimes they will do a letter and state that, up to 70% can be taken off, but they want out of this. They want you to sell that note so it's paid off so they can buy another house. Interestingly, we had one who did that, an investor. He sold off the note to get these buyers out. And 2 years later, they called him again because they were now in trouble again. And he ended up doing another wrap on it, took back another note with him because he did get it sold off and made them happy. So when they defaulted again, they went right back to him. I'm kind of curious if they're going to do it a third time because apparently they didn't learn about how to make your payments on time. But they were super excited. Someone made their payments on time and their credit score went up.
They never thought of doing it themselves. Sorry, I said they never thought of paying them on time themselves.
Correct. They never learned their lesson out of it. And he actually took that house back, and he resold it to them, and they're renters now. And they're not performing as renters either.
Wow.
But they have a 2019 Lexus. So Just saying, someone have different priorities than others.
I think the investor's got a problem.
That he resold it to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just wants paint over and over.
Apparently. Actually, he called me late on Friday to discuss that. So I'll be calling him back on my drive home today. This-
Do you think it's a good idea to buy houses, owner finance, and not do something with them before the mortgage is paid off, or?
What do you mean, do I think it's a
You
good
know,
idea to
like-
wrap it? And
Yeah, I mean, and keeping it for that long. Shouldn't you?
I do.
Why not?
You do? I don't know, I mean, I'm a newbie, so I'm just, you know, maybe that's.
Well, you're
one
leveraging
question.
your money. You're using someone else's money and you're making money.
You have unlimited buying power when you buy like that.
Mhm.
It's work. It's, you know, there's work involved in doing this type of transaction, but yeah, you have unlimited profit potential as well as buying power.
Well, I was thinking that I got somebody that wanted to do a owner finance, but I didn't think it was all that great, because I don't know a lot about it.
Let's talk about it afterwards.
Learning, oh, okay.
I think it's a great way to make money. I like to have my underlying mortgages paid a payment ahead. There's one time a year that I have to make sure that I'm doing it right, which is when there's an escrow analysis, that I cover the difference, so I keep it a payment ahead. I have one that's a little trickier, that I actually just have it auto-directed out of my account on the 24th of each month before it's due on the 1st. And then when we receive the payment, the full amount goes into my account, but that's not a borrower that I have. It's predominantly runs 20 days behind, which I don't really mind. You can keep running 20 days behind. They're not affecting their credit, and I'm collecting a late fee. So I'm totally okay with that. The late fee means I'm making more money. I don't know if anyone else sees it that way, but I like it. You know, you can
I
keep
just
paying.
want, I mean, I didn't, I
There's
know it's a good
different.
idea, but I didn't know that people bought those kind of mortgages. I thought they just buy them and then sell them off at a certain point, or.
You can. You can sell it off at a certain point. You're gonna have it, it's a vendor's lien against the property. I mean, your attorney's gonna set it up correctly and do the correct documentation. And it's gonna be disclosed that there's an underlying lien on it, which is really important to disclose. This is a payoff. Somebody had asked me what a payoff looks like. I slapped one on there. It's really important that the interest be on there. It's an older one, but it has to have the maturity date, when the next payment is due, the interest rate. An important part to notice, because we'll have buyers say, well, I made my, on this one I use November, for example, I made my November payment, but mortgages are paid in arrears. So what we're saying is, you're due for December. It says you're due for, actually, yeah, it says their next payment due is December. And you put it in there. This one has a trust balance on it, which is their escrow balance. That's in November, and the payoff is good through December 1st. If I was to do a payoff at this time of year, or later than December 1st for like December 15th, I would not put the trust balance on there, because we might be paying out the taxes, and I don't want that to be on there. So we'll take it off and just distribute the escrow after the fact. Or if their insurance is coming up payable, you know, as many times as we redo payoffs these days, 2 or 3 times before they close, if the insurance was coming up in the next 2 or 3 months, I would take the escrow on it off, because then they'll ask, why did the escrow go up? Why did you take it off? It's just easier to leave it off, and I put a little box on there and say escrow funds will be distributed after the closing. And we just send them an accounting of their trust account with it. And if the underlying mortgage holds it, we say this property has an underlying mortgage. The underlying mortgage holds the escrow. The lender will make sure that the buyer receives their funds. Also good to know is when you receive that underlying payoff, to check and see if the escrow is negative. And if it's negative, it's going on the payoff, because that's the buyer's escrow that's negative, and they need to pay that. Any questions on that? It takes 2 payoffs when you have an underlying mortgage. So we do a payoff for the borrower, and then we do a net payoff, which says this is the payoff less the underlying mortgage. And then we do a distribution page that says, you know, distribute funds here, the first lien is listed, then a difference comes over to us, and we apply the payoff and send it over to the lender and collect for the release of lien and the recording of it, and have those drafted and sent out. Any questions on that? Oh, and I like this sentence. We reserve the right to amend this payoff should any charges occur that would increase the amount of the payoff. And that's really important if you have a buyer that's in default and you get a copy of an invoice from an attorney. Even though you asked the lender for the invoice, the lender checked with the attorney said they sent over an invoice, and then they realized later they had more billable hours, so they sent it over. You want to be able to amend that because those were the fees that the borrower owes because they're in default. That's me. I don't know if I have that small link, so if you want a copy of it, let me know. Any questions? It's a lot of information, and it's like from an above view, but it's a lot of money to be made, and you just want to make sure you're doing it correctly.
Well, I got another question.
Okay.
I'm kind of hesitant to ask, but once you get a for sale by owner, so would I come to you to help me get that done, or is
We
that?
actually come in after it closes. We service the loans after they close.
Oh,
So you're
okay.
gonna have a contract and put together in your owner finance addendum. It's going to your RMLO. You're just gonna work with your attorney that you have, and then you're gonna get it closed. A lot of people put us on the emails when they're emailing them out, so we know what's going on and that it's coming.
Oh. So you're a long-term relationship with the
I
loan?
hope to be a long-term relationship, yes.
Yeah, well, I like that idea.
That's my goal, to be a long-term relationship.
So she's not, let me just clarify what I think I heard. She's not really after the closing. You're gonna go meet the seller, come to an agreement, put it under contract,
Right.
and you're gonna start working with Amy at the same time you're working with the title company. Because she needs closing docs, you need closing docs with all the note and stuff to be signed at closing.
And
So-
we will make an invoice for the setup fee, so it goes on your
Yeah.
CD or your HUD. Because they're gonna need an invoice to put fees on there, if you're collecting the setup fee at closing. So we'll make an invoice that goes over to the title company, because they'll be listed on the, people are usually like, I don't know if you call it rendition, but they're like, this is my RMLO, this is my note servicer, here's the title company. They just put everyone on there and, email and include everyone on here if you need something. I'm getting an email, it's from the title company, it says, we're closing in 4 days, I need an invoice, and they need to disclose it, the HUD or the CD 3 days prior, so we have to turn around and get an invoice over to them, so they put it on there. They usually remember like 4 hours before they have to disclose it, so it comes across urgent, all capital letters, and all they need is an invoice, which is really quick and easy. And we actually have a template on our website, so if they're needing one by Monday morning at 8 a.m., they can pull one off themselves, and title companies we work with will do that. Sometimes they just email us because it's easier for us to fill it out, and we're perfectly happy
That's
to.
what I've been needing, because I find deals and then I go out and talk to people about it, and then it just, I don't know what to do with it. And then it's just,
Call me.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Oh,
it's frustrating.
I partnered with someone probably about 4 or 5 years ago, because we had a note, or I had someone who was desperate to sell. But what they'd taken out was they had a paid off property, they went back and got a HELOC, didn't pay their taxes, they had this high rate interest note. And I knew we had an investor who knew how to do a modification and work all that process through while he had it under contract. So I called them and asked them if they'd like to partner with me. And all I wanted out of the deal was $1,000 and to be on every single email and see how to fill out every single piece of paper. Because knowing that, and then I built a little binder for myself of everything and printed them all off, so I knew what they did to make that happen. So when I ran into it again, I could do it myself. But if you know people out there, it's handy to partner with someone who already knows how to do it. And it's easier to share the profit than it is to not have any of the profit
So,
and learn from someone else who
if
doesn't.
you get nothing else out of this meeting is this very topic. Call somebody. You come here to learn this business and do deals, right? You aren't coming here because you have nothing else to do, are you? I mean, aren't you coming here for a reason? To make money and help people? So don't come here, hear the stuff, go out and talk to people and say, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to walk away.
Well,
Call
that's
somebody.
why I came here, because
Whether it's somebody in this room, call me, call Amy, call somebody. That's why we're here, is to meet people and network and know who's who. It doesn't mean you have to be the expert on everything, but you want to learn who to go to, who to call. Of course, you want to also learn who not to call too, right? I mean, that's just as
already know
important.
that.
What not to do is just as, I thought about doing a whole class on the things I've learned over the years
Yeah.
of what not to do, because they can be costly. But, yeah, don't just, walk away and say, I don't know what to do. But that's why you come here.
I hadn't found you yet.
But now you have.
Yes, I'm a.
Any other questions for Amy? Was that good or what?
Yeah.
More about it?
On the documentation purpose, like preparation, who does that? Is that something that you can do?
You mean for the RMLO part?
Yeah.
The RMLO collects all of it. They're gonna fill out the 1003, have the borrower fill out the 1003. The borrower's gonna bring in pay stubs, tax returns, bank statements, so that you get to look at it, and they'll tell you, you must have put together and say if it's a qualified mortgage, and then you as the lender, make that final decision. But they're telling you if they're qualified and what their debt to income is. And you wanna make sure you stay within the tolerance on it.
There's several people to answer your question.
Yeah.
You're gonna do the contract.
Okay.
Okay, she's gonna do the loan servicing piece of it. The RMLO is gonna do all the loan qualification type of documents, and the title company's gonna do the closing doc prep.
Okay.
So, there's classes on all this stuff as far as the contract goes, Title company, they'll take care of all that stuff for you. All they really need from you is the contract, what the deal is, so they understand it. But
And
she's
not
got
every deal is
an
an owner
application.
finance deal, We flipped a property that I was planning on keeping because I gotten it at a really good deal. It was originally, Dytech was selling it off because Dytech's been in trouble and it was on their list. It had been foreclosed on and sat vacant for 3 years. We picked it up at a good price. Had a few surprises that I wouldn't have known, such as the sewer line was cracked, which we got to find out later. But I still made good money on it. But I'd wanted to do it as an owner finance transaction. I had a cash offer come in. Super excited about that. I thought this is doable. They put down $10,000, which I thought was really weird because I would have only delivered $1,000. That's me. But they came back and asked if they could cancel it because her husband had a stroke. I may or may not have stalked her on Facebook to make sure that it wasn't just buyer's remorse. He really did have a stroke. He did have a stroke, and I gave them back $9,500, kept $500 because we pulled it off, and I thought I have to have something to go where you post this thing and market again. And our next buyer that came in was a veteran, and he wanted to use his VA loan, so we just sold it because those are people who fought for our freedoms. A VA loan is like the most beautiful mortgage that is out there, in my opinion, for a person buying the house. So we sold the house to him.
Unless your house has got problems.
Well, yeah,
Then it's not so beautiful.
that's actually where we found our sewer line was cracked because nobody was living in it for so long. We didn't know it was cracked until the VA inspected it. And we'd already trimmed back all our trees. Everything was working. We just had to go fix the sewer line. And it was on a septic system, which was actually remarkably not full. It had been pumped out at some point. I'm assuming Dytech had someone pump it out because it was empty. Yes.
About how much money would you be out of with the RMLO, RMLS, the title company, and the, I think it's real estate agent?
The
How much money
RMLO
would
is
you be out
paid
of
for.
before?
The
Ma'am?
buyer pays for the RMLO. Unless you adjust it or make changes to it, and if they're going to have to redisclose and re-up it, then you're going to pay a portion of it, or pay. I paid $300 when I didn't realize I was going to be rolling fees and it didn't include it on the contract and had to redo it. That's the fee I had to pay once.
Depends on who you
I've actually
use,
paid
though.
it twice.
I mean, there's every size and price
stuff option out there as far as RMLO charges.
Title companies are pretty standard.
And I would get a title policy when I close. That's kind of my rule. I like to have title policies and make sure that everything's clean. You determine with your attorney which portion you're paying of the closing docs. I usually have a survey done too because people like to put up fences. Buyers pay for surveys if there doesn't one existing.
You're talking
Our
2
loan
to 3%.
servicing costs are paid for by buyers predominantly unless you don't put on there.
2 to 3% title company.
I was gonna throw it out. I was gonna say, it depends on how you do it. I would always have the buyer pay for our services. Usually lenders pay for the setup fee predominantly on the HUD, and then buyers pay for our services every month.
I've seen RMLO fees as high as $1,500. But there are others that are
average,
300 to
though.
500.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I pay $850 usually is what I've been paying. I like to make sure I use a bilingual RMLO and that they're actually not just doing disclosures, because they will just do disclosures, which is what they're required to do unless you ask them to do the rest of it.
What'd you say you usually pay?
$850. What do you say?
I don't keep track.
Okay.
You had a question?
Okay.
So, you said buyer pay, so you don't actually close on the house until you find the buyer?
It depends on what kind of transaction you're doing.
It's all on what you negotiate and what you structure.
Most of the time?
It's all on what you negotiate and
So
what
say
you
you
structure.
I've closed ahead of time, I have not closed ahead of time.
Do you have the money or not? Is there a critical time factor or not? Is your seller pushy or not? Are you pushy or not? Remember, the longer you drag out a closing, what happens? More chance of losing the deal. But if you have the money and it makes sense, close on it now so you can move on and with the next phase, and that's selling it or rehabbing it or whatever you're doing. What if there's no equity in it?
Find the buyer first.
Find a buyer first. But you gotta negotiate that, you gotta have it documented correctly so you don't lose your seller in a situation like that.
Just a clarification, you suggested to find an RMLO that's bilingual and does more than what? More than
Just the
the-
disclosures,
Oh,
because disclosures is what they're required to do, the rest is an extra. And you want to be protected as the lender. I want to be protected. On the REO property list that we pulled for Ditech, I did have to close on that. I closed, we had to go in and do repairs. First, we had to cut back the jungle to see more of the house. That was challenging, because it's been 3 years and it was on 5 acres and lots of trees and vines.
Okay,
And a cow lived in the dining room for a while.
thank you, Amy. Was that good or what? Okay, just got a couple more admin notes and then we'll be done. Do you mind if I share your presentation real quick? Okay. You want me to fix the typo first?
Yes.
I thought you might. Okay. Couple admin notes here and we'll be on our way. Comments on anything at all before?
I got another dumb question.
Okay.
Is it feasible for an investor to work with the for sale by owner?
Say that one more time.
Someone has a for sale by owner home.
Uh-huh.
Can you work with them and make money off of them?
Absolutely. That's who you really want to look for. You're looking for the owners to deal with them directly,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're going after MLS listed properties, which I find that to be hard most of the time. But I mean, they are out there. But nowadays, you gotta do what? You gotta move fast, right? For those of you who've been around a little while, things move really fast today. So if there is a deal on MLS, or if there's even a FISBO out there, you need to move quickly, or you may lose it. That's just the way the market is right now. Is it gonna stay that way? Probably not.
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my gosh, you do so much more than I realized. I mean, I knew what you did and I've worked with you, you know, but I had no clue how much you know. I mean, people could do what you do and not know all this. People could do, I mean, not what you do, but they could collect payments and make accounting. But the fact that you also invest in owner finance and all that is just mind-boggling, because then you know what to look for, where the problems are. I mean,
It's
the
kinda like
presentation was amazing.
It's kind of like CPAs. You want to pick a CPA that's an investor too. He can only help you. I'll go back to what I said earlier. Go take and invite the sponsors out for lunch, coffee, something, and find out what they do. I mean, I've known Amy for years. Most of the stuff I know she's doing, but not the details she's shared with you today. So, good stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Tim, would
Yes.
you mention to make sure that if someone reaches out to you, that it's actually us? We have a couple of people impersonating us right now. And Tim got one of the emails.
Oh, yeah. So, if anybody calls you or emails you, you want to make sure you have Amy's phone number. Because there was a former employee?
Yeah.
Former employee from years ago reach out to me on social media, tell me that they work for August REI and trying to get my business. When I checked with Amy, I said, really? Because I've known Amy a long time.
You have
It turns out, did you have her escorted out? Is that what it was? There was something
The
there.
Garland police escorted her out.
Okay.
Yeah, we caught her on camera take a payment and pocket it.
So there's a lot of scam artists out there. You see them all the time, you hear about it all the time. So it's a good idea to know who you're dealing with and just confirm it, so.
She actually had worked for a big bank doing servicing before she came to work for us.
Okay, moving on, let's wrap it up. A couple admin notes. Anybody want a free month's membership? Those of you that have been here for a while, you already know what I'm saying, but for those of you that are annual members, I will give you a free month if you'll give me a short 30-second review testimonial of the group. What you liked, why you come, you recommend others attend that we can use on YouTube. So come and see me if you're interested in doing that. It's simple. You don't have to rehearse. You don't have to make sure your hair is nice and pretty. You know, it's a simple thing. 30 seconds is all it takes. I know nothing I say for some of the women are going to make any difference about your hair. So. Okay, here's a few things that I offer. Hourly consulting on pretty much anything. I've got it up here for real flow, but if you've got a deal you want to consult on, you're pretty comfortable, you don't want full-time or ongoing mentoring, but you just want to talk about a deal, we can do that. I'm thinking about doing a virtual online mentoring thing. I just haven't pulled the trigger. Business setup and organizational consulting. A lot of people go out and quit their job and then try and start this business when they're really not prepared to do that. It's not what I recommend. It's not what I did. You can do it any way you want, but I probably have a few lessons for you on how to go about getting set up in preparation for that day. How many want to quit their job? Okay. I gave a 12-month written resignation at my job at Lockheed. Do you think I was ready at the time I gave the resignation? Was I ready to quit? I really was, because 12 months is a long time, right? And actually I had all these top secret clearances. Everybody said, oh, they're going to escort you out. They don't let people do that, but they kept me. So I didn't care. 12 months later I left, and I've been full-time since July of 06. So, but anyhow, there's a few things I could probably share with you on that. Considering doing a group mentoring, again, we're, changing the whole group up, with the new membership program we have now, and doing the third Thursday of the month lunch meetings, and this is probably just the next step here. Joint venture deals, you're going to get this presentation. It's going to be up on the website for you to download. If you want a joint venture with me, you can submit your deal right there on that link. All you have to do is open up this PowerPoint presentation, or I can send you the link, either one. You can submit your deal right there, and it'll come to me. That website, by the way, is my group website that's attached to the group. Okay. Tools I use in my business, of course, Real Estate IQ's tools that you heard about earlier, we've been talking about occasionally. I use those tools every day. There's just a reminder, that's your newest benefit. We're working on some others, but that's your newest benefit for you as annual members. You get 6 months of this tool free. Everybody in here should sign up today. If you're not already using it, sign up today. There's the link in the presentation right there when you get it. But also you can, if you're in a hurry, come see me, send me an email or text, and I'll get you that link today. But you should go sign up. If you have any questions about what you get, go back and talk to Real Estate IQ about it and let them explain it to you. But you can't go wrong. Everybody needs this tool. It's real MLS comps, okay? And it's free to you as a member. Then there's an upgrade. Remember I told you earlier that if you want the leads every day, the off-market leads coming to you every day, then those come to your inbox. If you use the link, it's right here, and you use that code. Be sure you use that code. That gets you 25% off for life if you do the paid upgrade. Okay? You can't have too many leads today, I don't think. Is anybody getting too many leads today? I mean, I want to mentor with you. I want to find out how you're doing. Okay? Hard to find too many leads these days. So another one of the website systems I use is this, Investor Care. Again, that's a link. You can go there if you'd like. But I have, I think, 4 different website systems I use. They all have different benefits and stuff, and that's one of them. The other one is Rehab Evaluator for rehab estimates. You get a very good rehab estimating tool as part of your membership to this group. Go check it out. This is just another tool here. Think Realty is a part of your membership. When you become an annual member of this group, you get an email. It's either the first or second email that you receive is with a code from Think Realty. This is the code too, but you can text it or you can use the link in the email to get registered. That gets you access to the Home Depot Pro, by the way. They give you anywhere from 15 to 20% discounts. Sherwin-Williams, the 40 to 50% discounts on most things, not everything. Office Depot, Sunbelt Tool Rental. I mean, there's a whole slew of them, and they're constantly adding additional vendors. So that is an additional benefit of this group. There's a course on joint venture wholesaling by a local guru here that I helped get started by the name of Connor Steinbrook. Anybody know him? Yeah. Connor is one of those guys that is a mover and shaker in the business, pretty young, hard charging, he's doing extremely well. And now he's hitting it big with eXp Realty. So he's doing very well, but he wrote that course. He has been here to speak in the past. If you'd like to do a written review and testimonial, which I ask you to do, there's written instructions on how to do that. I would appreciate it very much. It'll help us with our Google juice for the group. And that, again, the presentation will come to you, so you can just click on those links and go out and follow the instructions. They're pretty simple. You don't need anything fancy. We just want you to share your true feelings about the group, what you like, and so forth. That would help us with the next folks consider coming to the group. So with that, thank you for attending. Any last minute questions? Sir?
So if we're interested in mentoring